Hi guys, how you doing? So I thought I would make this video and I will put it out in the link provided below, but if you're watching it, it's not going to be below, it'll be the video that you've clicked on to go below in order to watch it. So above, so below. So this is a Patreon, information about Patreon that I've been meaning to do for a while because I get loads of different questions about Patreon. Okay, so first of all, so what I offer over on Patreon is that I change things up quite a lot, trying to accommodate for everybody that joins Patreon. Okay, so when you join the Patreon, I offer at the moment because I can't always keep up with what I list as on Patreon of what it is that you get in the description. Okay, so I'm going to generalize it for everybody as best I can. But when you join Patreon at the moment, there is a tier 1, which is I think it's something as very simple as like £3, but I can't express it in dollars. It's very close to the same amount of what it is in pounds, just a little bit different. Okay, but it's like £3 for tier 1. Okay, that gives you a monthly reading. Basically, that's the only reading that I normally put out over on Patreon for tier 1 members. Is basically a full spread for a whole month. Right, and it will be so like when you do April, May, June, July, August, and you do a monthly reading. If it's just listed as that, basically it just goes to tier 1. That's what you'll get each month. Okay, clarified and all of the above. Okay, the beginning part comes out on YouTube for you to watch, and the extended version of that will be named exactly the same thing as what it is over on Patreon, but it may have a number 2 on it, which means that it's the second part. I have to call it the same thing because when you go over to Patreon looking for the video, it's really got to match up with the video that I post on YouTube. So if it says Aries, Pisces, blah blah blah, whatever, and the title is called something, you'll have to go over to Patreon to see what that may mean, because sometimes I also list of like the extended of what it's about. Sometimes it may also be in the actual description of the title of what the reading's called on YouTube. So I hope you get me with that one, okay? If I've listed it as something, it may mean that some people are kind of like, well, it doesn't mean what you've put in your title. Well, it might mean that if you go over to Patreon and you watch. Okay, if you have negative energy and you're fighting with someone, but the YouTube reading starts off very well, but you're having a beef, then you have to go over to Patreon in order to see what the outcome is for the rest of your month. Okay, so basically for tier 1 members, you get the extended version of the monthly reading. Okay, just one a month. Okay, now if you join the other one, which is called the full access bundle, I'm sure that that's what it's called, but it will say in the title. Now sometimes over on Patreon you can have a description and it lists what it is that you offer over on Patreon, but sometimes I don't always have the time in order to keep up and change what it is that I decide to do with people. Okay, so sometimes I do videos that only come over on there exclusive for people on Patreon, so you don't get to see it on here. Okay, on YouTube you don't get to see the beginning part on YouTube. You basically just get the whole reading that is provided over on Patreon. Sometimes I do the beginning of the reading and then the extended version is over on Patreon, but it will be called the same thing. Okay, sometimes as well what I do is if I do it on YouTube, I look at the past energy, and then when it comes to present and future, I then only go over to the full access bundle, and that is what you get. It's just that I have to do YouTube and Patreon, and I have to do both. And when you've got ads and everything else that you see that comes up on YouTube, okay, that doesn't appear. And when you're on Patreon, part of that, of what you get as a benefit, is the fact that you can watch it without adverts. So I don't get paid, I just get Patreon members that join. If you pay, that's what I get paid. Okay, so I don't put adverts on it, so you can watch it with no adverts. Okay, but also, so the readings change all of the time. So basically when you join the full access bundle, you can get a mixture of different readings, a mixture of them. Some of them will be readings that I don't post over on YouTube. Some of them will be where the start comes on YouTube, but the rest of it and the extended will only go over there. If you're on Patreon and you get confused because it says exactly the same on the tin as what it does on YouTube, that just means that I've basically just done the video, okay, gone over to Patreon, copied and pasted pretty much exactly the same reading as what it's called, gone over to Patreon, and then put the extended version that nobody else gets to see apart from you guys if you're on the full access bundle, and then I post it over on Patreon, but it's called the same thing, but it will have a number 2 on it. Okay, so if you're watching Patreon, basically you're watching either one, the extended version of everything that I put out, the extended version goes over there, or sometimes it will be readings where it will be where nobody else gets to see it, it will just be Patreon members. Okay, whatever reading that is that changes, whether it be life path reading, a yearly reading, a 6-month reading, a bi-weekly reading, or a weekly reading, that also goes over to Patreon. But don't forget, when you're on Patreon, see, because I'm on a PC, okay, so a lot of people watch this on their phones. So basically, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it, is that you have to scroll through it, okay? You have to go up and then scroll through all the videos in order to find them. But I think also, because I do put them in order of a tag line, so if I do Pisces or Leo, for instance, I will list it as Pisces Secret 7 Bundle, because it used to be called Secret 7 Bundle, but I can't change that anymore, unfortunately. I will get onto the rest of the stuff as well that I have to say, but you know, you can also go at the top of Patreon, I think, and look for the taglines where it will say, like, say I've got 200 videos of Pisces, say 200 videos of Leo, 200 videos, it doesn't have to be 200, it could be more or less, but you could probably click on the tagline and that will take you straight to a video that you might want to watch where it will say all Leo. I don't really know, because I'm not a Patreon member, I just run their site, really, of part of my own. It's a different website. Patreon is not YouTube. Just YouTube is really where you just copy and paste a link, leave it private, or just for people that have that link, and then it goes to Patreon. So you go over to them, okay? So don't forget that it will always change, and I may not be able to keep up with what it is that I'm offering. It's basically just the fact that you get every extended reading if you're on the full access bundle. The full access bundle means that you get everything, okay? Now, if there is a delay in me actually putting out the extended reading, don't worry, you're not going to die. You know, time is not going to run out. It's the fact that your reading will be there, but sometimes it may be a half an hour to 3/4 of an hour delay, because I am also probably I'm not at home, okay, and I'm on my phone sometimes where I am, and then when I get back I can only do it when I'm here on my PC, because that's where the extended reading is, okay? So I can only really do that and post that over on Patreon and let you have access to that when the beginning part of the reading is pretty much done. So if I'm out, I have to come home and then let you access to it. But so sometimes there may be 20 minutes or 30 minutes delay in when the reading appears up. Sometimes also, I'm also dealing with the chat and people also, and emails and private readings and so on and so forth, and life. So if there's a 20-minute, 30-minute where you're looking on Patreon and the video isn't there, there's nothing wrong. It's just the fact that I may not have been here in order to post it directly straight away. If there are other live readings going, and I also keep up with the chat and everybody else that's on there, I stay on there because if people leave donations and things like that, I love to be able to thank the people that have left donations. So I always make sure that sometimes I'm in the background watching my own chat because I like to say thank you. Okay, so I have that also. So if there are two readings that are running simultaneously, sometimes I let both the readings finish before I put the extended readings out over on Patreon. So there may be 25, 30 minute, 40 minute delay in the extended reading. It will be there. There is nothing wrong with your system. It's just the way that I'm working at the moment. I do it all of myself. I don't have a personal assistant or anybody that does all this for me. I do it all myself, okay? So please bear with me when I'm trying to keep up with everybody, okay? Because there's also life and everything else. I have my own one, okay? So you've got that. Also, when it comes to prices, I can't change the price, okay? I've not had anybody that's complaining about the price, but when it comes to that, you can't change it. Once you have set a price limit for Patreon, you can't change it. If you can, the only way you do that is by kicking everybody off and telling them to leave a tier, and then you can change it. But you can't do it whilst there are tier members on a tier. So if you've joined, say, the full access bundle, I will never be able to change that price, okay? Up or down. I can't do either. It's set as that. The only way I can ever do it is if everybody leaves it, and then I then can change it, and then everybody joins back. So basically, if I did do that, I would lose all of the videos that you may be able to have seen because I would have to delete the tier, okay? Which I don't want to do because it has access to all of the links that provide you for Patreon. Okay, I hope I'm not talking too fast for everybody, and I hope my audio is recording. But I thought I would do this video for everybody just to try and explain a few things of how the process works behind the scenes with me. Okay, so we've got that. So I can't change the prices, okay? A lot of that is also Patron. They also do ask for a percentage. I also do have to pay for Patron. It's not free, okay? So we've got that. What else was it that I wanted to go over? Okay, so getting on to Patreon. Okay, so as far as I know, because I obviously have access to it, is that when you click on the link that is provided below, it basically just takes you to Patreon. Okay, so when you're on there, the best thing to do is to physically download the application, the app on your phone or computer, okay, and then download Patreon. When you are, join whilst you're on your app of your phone, okay? But remember which account it is that you sign in with, because you can sign in via Google, you can sign in via Facebook, or you can make up a password yourself and sign in via that way. But you must remember what email it is that you have assigned it to, because when it asks you to sign in again and you think, oh, I can't remember my password, or I can't remember what email account or Facebook account it was, don't forget, 11:11 on the clock, don't forget you have people also that feel that they're being spied upon and watched by other people. They change their accounts all of the time. People have PTSD. A lot of people have also slightly lost their mind through awakenings. So they change things up a lot, okay? So through that energy, don't forget, I also get the blame for that kind of thing as well by someone else that can't remember what they've done, okay? So this is why I'm making this video. So when you click the link below, you go over to Patreon, you decide which tier it is that you want to join. You'll soon get used to it. It's just a process, okay? So when you're on Patreon, get the app, download the app, then join whilst on the app. Remember, whether it be Google, Facebook, or a personal password that you're coming up with. Hopefully get your phone or PC in order to remember it so you don't have to remember it. I think there may be a little square that says, please remember my password and address so I don't have to do it every time I go over there. Okay, so that's that done. If you don't do that, please make sure that you remember what your password is or what account it is that you've joined on. Because if you then click on it and it don't let you on, it may be because you're not signed in. Okay, so you could go to Patreon, you're not signed in, you click on it and it won't let you on what you've paid for. That may be because you might need to sign in. Okay, so Patreon will work off exactly the same kind of process of what it does YouTube. You have to be signed in. Okay, so you've joined Patreon, you've picked your tier, you've signed in, you remember your password or what account it is that you're on. Okay, when you've got all of that in hand, that should definitely let you on what tier it is that you've decided to join. Okay, so we've got that. The price bit, unfortunately, nobody has, fortunately enough, has said, but I can't change the prices. It's not in my hands. It's just a price that I came up with at the beginning and thought, you know what, all of these readings I put out, for me, that's like, I think it's £11 for the full access bundle. It's like £11, okay? So, but it does tell you all over there, okay? But that gives you access to, like, when I say do yearly readings, 6 monthly readings, blah, 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 so on and so forth. I don't want to give prices because I don't know what changes in the future. But you got yearlies, bi-weeklies, weeklies, monthlies, life path readings, thoughts and feelings, things that I change, okay? I get also people that constantly ask me, can you do this, can you do that, can you do these, can you do those? And then you get someone else, oh, I don't like these, I don't, you know, you have to look at it from what that stress that can bring me of trying to deal with the general public. When you get the general public, you get a lot of people that complain, that don't want things that are not going their way. You get people that are suffering through PTSD, awakenings, desperate for an answer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if you want answers answering and you're leaving me messages over on Patreon, you're going to have to ask for a personal reading, okay, or maybe a Skype call, but I don't know about those so much anymore because I don't really have time. But you know, if you're asking me a load of questions, you've really got to pay for that because I'm dealing with so many clients, people, live, Facebook, YouTube, God knows what else. You know, trying to do it all. I'm just a one-man band. That's all I can really do. Okay. I also channel, so it takes up a lot of time, it takes up a lot of energy, and it takes up a lot of, you know, having to do it daily for each sign, channeling and reading. And then you get people that don't like the channeling, and then they only like the reading, and the people that just like the reading and not the channeling, and then people complain. You see, you gotta think about me also, okay? So you've got that. So let's go over it very briefly again. So YouTube, when you join, make sure that you've done all what I said about joining, password, all those kind of things, what account, email you've joined, okay? When over there, it should say in a very brief description of things that are possible that I may be offering at different times. Tier 1 is definitely only really just a monthly reading, okay? Other ones that may come up still as a monthly reading, I'll say it on every video, at the end of every video, okay? This will only go to the full access bundle, okay? Or it goes to tier 1 and the full access bundle. It depends what I say. A lot of people have clicked off and they've gone to another channel before they've even finished what I've got to say, and they click off and they're not listened, and then they just ask me a question of what I've already said in multiple videos, okay? So, tier 1, monthly reading only, full access bundle. It does exactly what it says on the tin. You will gain access to everything that I have, that I put out of a video that I'll say this only goes to the full access bundle. That's where the extended reading is. When you get over there and you click on it, you will see the extended reading. So you'll probably see, I'll say, okay, blah, blah, blah. Here's the rest of your reading that you didn't see on YouTube. Okay, so that's what you get. Sometimes extendeds, sometimes readings that do not appear anywhere else. They are just on here, okay, on Patreon, okay. So that's what you get. Sometimes things change, right? They change. When I've got a description of what I offer, sometimes I may not have the time in order to realise, oh, you know what, I have to go over to Patreon as well and just make sure that I put this in the description of something that you may be offered. It's basically just whichever way around it is that I decide to do readings, you get the extended for that, okay? There's also sometimes channeling over there. Sometimes there isn't channeling over there, right? There are messages over there that are channeled also through cards. There are also thoughts and feelings sometimes. There are sometimes also singles, couples. You know, sometimes a you and a them, and your person and them. There are different things that I sometimes add that I can't always say what I'm going to do because I change it, okay? So basically the full access bundle is what you are granted when you are over there, okay? Now if you have any struggles of getting on to the video itself, it may well be because of, like I'm saying, around one, there's either a delay in the reading isn't there quite straight away the moment you click on it, okay? It might be within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or it could be immediately, okay? There are also things, like I said, it might be something to do with around, like you've got to make sure that you have the right email attached to the right password or which account it is that you first joined, when you first joined. Because sometimes you get people that stay on there, they're the people that I love, thank you so much. Sometimes you get people that stay on there, okay? It charges you, also very important. Patreon charges you on the 1st of each and every month is when Patreon starts to, behind the scenes, starts to charge you for that month, okay? So if I'm doing readings, because I can't compare to both, I can't stop doing readings because Patreon starts charging on the 1st, I have to keep up with YouTube, okay? So if they charge you on the 1st and I'm doing readings, say, for the last part of the month, and you join just for that weekly reading because you've just found it, okay, and you join then, say it's on the 20th or something like that, and then Patreon kicks you off and asks you to join again for the month, but you've only had like one weekly reading, you may have had time to go back and watch all of the rest, okay, but that will kick you off and ask you in order to pay again on the 1st of the month. I'm not really sure because, like I said, I don't, I'm here doing them, okay? So don't forget that Patreon charges you on the 1st of each month. If you join, the best time to try and join is at the end of each month, at the beginning of each month, okay? So you have a whole month, okay? But if you join at the end, they'll probably charge you for that and then probably kick you off and then ask if you want to join again, okay? There has to be a system at some point of people getting charged, okay? So that is pretty much how they run their system. So you've got that. So you've got the prices roughly, you've got the charging, you've got the making sure that you deal with your Facebook, either Google or password itself. Don't worry about your pictures and stuff like that of people over there. I very much doubt that your stalking energy is pretty much trying to find out if you're watching tarot. That is very much PTSD and God knows what else. If you're worried about that much of a person, okay, that means that you are 100% going through something extremely karmic in your head. Okay, it's fear. Okay, fear. It's fear of other people wanting, like, if you want to know something and you feel like you're being stalked and God knows what else, and someone's like, trust me, you have it. When you have soulmate spiritual connections, you don't want the other person to know that you're interested in tarot and stuff like that, right? So you can lose your mind and you go, oh no, I don't want them to know that I'm leaving comments in here and that they might find out. But that's PTSD trauma, and it's created by awakenings. Okay, fear. My head is gone. I'm open. My head is not my own. I'm suffering for a lot of fear, panic attacks, anxiety, God knows what else. I'm really hoping that you're not, but it's feasible and it's possible. Okay, so don't worry about other people knowing what you're doing, because you're just taking the energy and giving it to them. Okay, so just know your own mind. Okay, so that is pretty much what I offer. I hope that I have pretty much covered everything. Hopefully I'm going to put this just above Patron and say watch this video before joining Patron. Okay, and this should give you hopefully all of the information that there is before you join. Okay, I don't think that there are any other questions. Like I said, you're going to have to try and, you know, understand that I'm trying to give you as much as I possibly can, okay, and that all of the extendeds of the full access bundle, they are everything that I do, they go over there. If there is some problem with that, then that may not be on my end. It could well be on your end, okay. There are certain things that you may have to ask yourself with Patron, you know, and stuff like that, right? So I'm hoping that I've pretty much give you all the information that there is, okay. But there is also stuff over there that does explain some of this over on Patreon that I've listed up as public in a post where people can like look at the information that is provided there. Before you ever join, you know, read it. You know, don't join it in a panic. Just read what it is that they offer. Read what it is that it says do, you know, because majority of sites when you join them, do you see those spirits floating around in the back there? But time lapse, have a look. But go back. But because it was on my back. But you know, read what it is that it says before really joining. Read what it is that one I may offer. Watch this video, and then before doing it, make sure that you read before, like, oh no, God, no, I've got to, you know. And I get this also with people that apply for personal readings. They're in such a rush where there is no rush, right? There is no rush. Take your time, you know. If I'm sending you a template for a personal reading also, okay, there are links provided below that says email, okay. Send a link to the email, I'll send you a template that I send to everybody because it's been wrote out for a long time, right? So I just pretty much copy paste, put that on an email and press send, and then you can hopefully deal with that, okay. But there should also be a video explaining things also about personal readings, okay, below. What else? So yeah, don't rush, you know, always read what it is that I put. You don't have to rush the energy, you know. If you're looking for personal readings, I have time, I'm always here. So, you know, just make sure that you get it right in order for me to give you the best service, okay? So there you go. So hopefully everybody should have every answer that or question to their answer of what this may involve around Patreon, okay? And thank you all so much for subscribing, all my patrons. Thank you so much. Also, I didn't say this is probably going to be a time lapse because it will be here for quite some time. But I think I got something from Patreon to say that I've got so many videos. I've been doing it for 2 years, I think. So yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much, and I'll see you soon.